We got this. Alright. Hold on. I know you can't hear the game right now. We're starting a little bit early, just because I realized I'm not gonna have a lot of time tonight. So the stream's actually probably gonna be like a half an hour. So yeah, I'm not happy about it, but you know, shit happens. I have something that came up tonight, so it's gonna be a shorter-ish stream. I hope that's okay. I don't think we'll finish chapter 3. I mean, we're definitely not gonna finish chapter 3. But that's okay, because then tomorrow we can just finish it. Alright. Let me get into the game again here. Continue right here about. Oh shit, we're just right back in. Okay. My heart was still. Oh, yeah, it feels just weird just starting, doesn't it? Well, whatever. We're starting early. We found out some shit. Dad's trying to take over Japan. I'm a demon. He's a demon. What happened? I think we got some intel that we were supposed to, now we're gonna go somewhere to try and stop my dad. Something like that? Question mark? I'm sorry, I don't remember. I should have done something to like refresh my memory. But I did go back and watch the stream, but like I didn't get too far because I was just like, holy shit, the game's quiet as fuck for them. God damn it, the mixture was stupid. Anyway, well, we gotta keep going, because I gotta wrap this up at like 6:30, 6:45 at the latest. Okay. My heart was still reeling from the Shiranui's revelation that Harada had died in Ueno. Oh, that's right, one of the other guys from the first game died. We learned that. Man, I wonder what happens if you're on his route. That must be... wow. At first, I wasn't sure if I could bear to listen to another bit of terrible news, but I had to persevere. Please, go on. As soon as I answered him, Kazama tilted his head downwards and spoke quietly. I like how there's like a little thing there, like, in case you didn't know what beheaded was. Konduo, a paragon of benevolence and leadership. How attracted he had been denied an honorable death by the way of seppuku, and it broke my heart thinking that he had decapitated like some criminal. For a moment, I remained silent, softly turning these thoughts over in my head as Kazama looked away. No, I believe you. What Dr. Matsumoto notified me of Kondo's surrender, I consider this to be the worst-case scenario. I buried the thought somewhere, clinging to the thin hope that he would be rescued, or maybe they would show him mercy for his character. But hearing Kazama say it, having it become a real thought through his curt and personal words, was devastating. Was a devastating blow at a time when I was reaching my limit. So what does it mean for the Shinsengumi now? Konduo proudly served the Shinsegumi's chief, and without him I wondered how they would adapt, now that they had been put under the microscope. Oh, that's so hot. I love those gloves. Oh, I guess they're not really gloves, are they? They're like sleeves that are whatever. He's hot. Jesus. Okay, after being humiliated per usual, it's not His questions seemed less interrogative than more interested in my feelings, which I appreciated. However, I figured he was intuitive enough to know that my opinion on this matter was unchanged, and I answered him resolutely. I looked him square in the eye. I'm going to Azu, too. I'm going to go wherever the Shinsengumi men are. September. Kazama smirked, and together he and I set off on another expedition north to locate the Shinsengumi. En route to Aizu, I caught notice of many other travelers were wearing Western clothing, and Kazama and I feared my kimono would attract suspicion. Thus, I was forced to wear a different disguise, one created by Kazama in the clothes he had made for me. As I acquainted myself with these new foreign clothes, the summer faded into September of 1868. After a long encompassing journey, Kazama and I set foot in Aizu, gazing at the peripheral view from its vast, audacious landscape. Some of these words, I'm sorry, I'm so stupid. Tensions boiled under the surface in the anticipation of the upcoming battles, particularly in the small settlements of the village surrounding the area of Shirakawa. It was there that I reunited with Amagiri, who was accompanied by mothers at the Satsuma domain. Oh shit, sorry. After being dealt another crushing wave of defeats, the Aizu soldiers began retreating back to Aizu Castle. To my knowledge, their plan was to fortify the castle and hold it for months of end, in hopes of exhausting the Imperial Army until leaving them be. Is that where the Shinsengumi is heading then? Although the stakes were dangerous, I was driven by the pipe dream of going to visit them. Over 6 months had passed since I had separated from the Shinsengumi in Kyoto. My search for them led me all over the country from Osaka, Edo, and now Utsunomiya. By the time I arrived at whatever location I thought they'd be, however, they were already marching towards the scene of the next battle. Chasing them was proving to be a useless endeavor, like trying to grasp smoke with your hands, and each time they were narrowly out of reach. Would our reunion actually happen? Or would each of them succumb to the fates similar to Kondo's or Harada's before I saw them? I was becoming gripped with a mixture of fear and anxiety, which prompted me to speak up. I would like to head for Aizu Castle. I'm just stupid, I'm sorry. I understand. But that's the only lead we have about the Shinsengumi could be. I've missed them 3 times in a row, and I don't know if I can stomach never seeing them. I don't know if I'll ever be able to. I hated myself, biting my tongue to keep from contemplating the worst. Kazama's expression, however, was aloof as ever. Well, but I'm not trying to do anything once I get there. I didn't need Kazama's sharp criticism, nor had I expected to come and rescue the Shinsengumi. I just needed him to understand how I felt. I want to see everyone while I still can. I don't know if I could bear the thought of never seeing them again before something happens, like Kondo or Harada. I'm not going to let them kill me. Kazama made a lot of sense. If the Imperial Army emerged as the definitive victor in the end of all this, then the Shinsengumi would likely be written off as a band of rogue delinquents, rapping the truth about their heroic service in Kyoto and its people. Sorry, warping, not rapping. But I'll remember. It doesn't matter if people mischaracterize the Shinsengumi for who they really are. I will honor their memory, and you can make damn sure that I'll never forget it. I could almost hear Kazama gnashing his teeth as he glared at me chillingly. An awkward tension lingered in the space of our conversation, making me unsure if Kazama was upset or just frustrated by my unwillingness to cooperate. His eyes were like daggers sinking in my forehead. I could barely speak, let alone breathe. Kazama's biting tone left me feeling uncomfortable. He spun around on his heel and walked away without another word. I contemplated calling his name to clear the air, but instead I bit my lip, too nervous to take any action. Huh? I wasn't following what Armagiri was trying to convey. Nonetheless, he continued on an admonishing tone. Yeah. Amagiri, thank you so much. With that said, Amagiri bowed his head and vanished like mist into the air. I turned my head in all directions, looking to see where Kazama had run off to, but by the time I found him, the sun was setting in a warm pool of orange on the horizon. Kazama! I timidly called out to him. He turned his head to gaze at me, but he had paid me no mind and continued walking at the same pace. Where are you going? But I sprinted up to where he had been walking so that we can have an open discussion, but he seemed unwilling to entertain any such thing. I peeked at him confusedly, and I was struck with the most peculiar feeling of déjà vu. Huh? A row of trees loomed over the forest path, and in its neat arrangement reminded me of the welcoming ceremony. My nose tingled with the most familiar scents. A fragrant patch of morning glories dotted the lush meadow surrounding the trail. My body was trying to tell me something, consuming with this vague sense of yearning. It all felt so surreal, and I couldn't place my finger on what it was. I was being imbued with the ambient energy, a kind of serene grace that put my tired heart at ease. Before I'd had an opportunity to voice how strangely I felt, Kazama stopped walking. This place was... Oh my goodness. My eyes scanned the environment, hitting me with the blast of nostalgia, and nearly brought me to my knees. Beside us was a charred hut and a fallen support beam cutting through the middle of it, and my mind immediately filled the blanks in as to what it used to be. We arrived at a village, and in the middle was a decayed well, encircled by overgrown weeds. I picked up the life that used to inhabit this place. Shards of an old bucket were scattered around the well, and an old doll laid across its grass near the feet. There was no mistaking it. This was... Is this... the village I was born? I asked Kazama shakily. Kazama neglected to answer me and shut his eyes. Just then, something caught his attention in the distance, and Kazama darted up a small hill to see what it was. To my surprise, we saw Kaoru? We found him collapsed in a bed of flowers, and my heart dropped. On one side of his ribcage was a gauze that had been completely soaked with blood. I was under the impression that he had attempted to treat the injury inflicted by Kazama, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that he fled to this village in anticipation of death's cold embrace, left to suffer his last bitter moments alone. Oh shit, he's dead. I took comfort, at least, in the fact that his expression seemed rather peaceful. Part of me almost believed that, after the evening passed, he'd wake up and greet the morning dawn, and we could talk about everything that happened. Just then, a flashback hit me like a speeding bullet. It was from years ago, back when he and I lived in the seclusion of Yukimura village. Brother! I want to see the field of flowers again. Please take me? Why not? But I was fine. Did you tell them? Mia doesn't need help. I finally remembered. I don't know what caused me to forget years ago. Why? When my village was ablaze and Kaoru risked his life to protect me? It wasn't until Kazama pointed it out that I realized there was tears falling down my face. I just remembered something important. I nodded. It wasn't just Kaoru that saved me either. Father carried the two of us in his arms, barreling down the mountain as fast as he could run. Afterwards, he took me in and gave me the best childhood I could have ever asked for. I was loved. There were so many people who protected and cared for me, and most of all, Father and Kaoru. Kazama didn't press the subject further. The two of us just listened to the gentle hum of the wind passing through this forsaken village, grazing against the burned wood, creaking away. Man. Together we hiked to the highest peak of the hill and overlooked the rest of the village, and it was here that we buried Kaoru's remains. Kazama kept his eyes fixed on the grave for a few minutes after we finished patting the dirt, and eventually, he reached for the canteen hanging on the side of his belt and poured it gently atop the grave. The sake reflected in the glimmering moonlight as it fell from the canteen, seeping deep into the soil. Kazama was expressionless, watching the alcohol drip from the bottle towards his feet. His eyes glowed at me with a melancholy, and I wondered to myself if Kazama was regretful about how things transpired between the two of them. His sentiment was so heavy, and it seemed like the both of us were learning how to navigate the nuance of our grief together. For this, I was appreciative. If it weren't for the humans. It was a lofty question, one I could likely ponder for the remainder of my life. Things could have been manifested so differently for Kaoru and Father. At the very least, they could have made an impact on their people, unburdened by the curse of vengeance and unfairly plagued for the rest of their short lives. Kaoru originally mentioned something about the wanting to use the Furies to rebuild the remnants of the Yukimura clan, but I think in the end, all of it was a facade to mask the trauma inflicted by those wicked humans. In essence, Kaoru wanted to preserve the picture of his village and everything it stood for. Maybe, just maybe, he'd wanted to reclaim some of those memories that were viciously stripped from him. He was just a boy, whose every step was met with tragic misfortune. He'd died just as he had lived. Alone. It was the only way I could explain the myth of Kaoru without slumping into depression. My wish was that his last moments were painless, that he had been able to reconcile his hatred as he laid in that meadow, the place he loved. Kazama, I know that my father and Kaoru committed unforgivable crimes against humanity and our people, but even so, do you think it would be okay for me to remember them as gentle, kind people? Father's serum was catastrophic, responsible for deaths of countless warriors and innocent people. For them to violate the natural order of demonhood and all that encompassed the sacred essence was a mark of condemnation, goddamn, in Kazama and his kin. His words made me sigh in relief. Can I ask you one more question? Demons far surpass humans in strength and ability, don't they? How can you explain what happened to my people? How were 8 humans able to destroy my clan? Kazama tilted his head, peering into my eyes inquisitively. Perhaps he was testing me to see if I could handle the truth. To be honest, I was unsure if I could, but it was a question that I needed answers. Eventually. It was then that they asked the Yukimura clan. Having demons as allies was crucial not only for their untold powers, but because having them as enemies was extremely dangerous in proposition. Because the Yukimura clan expressed no interest in helping, the anti-shogunate domains interpreted it as refusal and as a challenge to their authority. Man, what bitches. That's why my clan was destroyed? That was their justification for killing my people? I cried out in defeat, and Kazama turned to gaze at the scorched village below the hill. It was futile. The past couldn't be changed. I directed my gaze towards the floor as Kazama muttered words of comfort. His voice was hushed, hovering just above a whisper, and he continued. There's a part of me that thinks how I should hate them. But there's something overriding that angry voice, and instead I just feel sorrow. I'm just so heartbroken. When I first learned of what compelled Father and Kaoru to embark on this path of vengeance, all I felt was sorrow. Grief had taken me entirely. I had been reminded of my family I used to know, as well as the parents that I would never know. My real father and mother, as well as the rest of the Yukimura clan. Do you know how they died? As Kazama and I walked through the village, I kneeled down and touched my fingers to the burned pillar I'd seen when I first arrived. Had I touched this pillar as a child? Now it was dried and freezing surface. Is there no way for us to live in a world where everyone can coexist peacefully? Why couldn't we all laugh and live in harmony with one another? Why was the pursuit of peace so entrenched in the deaths of innocent lives? The Shinsengumi exposed me to so many different walks of life, a range of motivations, ideologies, and ambitions. When two opposing parties were unwilling to compromise, then it usually led to war, but all anyone should be concerned about is helping out their fellow man. Surely we all had this goal in common. It just breaks my heart to see that people are so willing to inflict pain on others. Kazama took this opportunity to console me rather than refute me, and nodded quietly. There was a kind of twinkle in Kazama's eyes, which I had noticed to be uncharacteristically placid when I looked at him. Oh my god, I love him. Whew. Eventually, we fell quiet, naturally running out of things to say. After a moment, Kazama broke the silence by muttering to himself. Kazama. I had no intention of being anywhere near this war either, but there was still so much I needed to do, namely, learning the fate of the Shinsengumi. Understandably, they were deeply involved with the war and whatever outcome awaited them. Huh? You're right. As Kazama said, I had been impatient all this time. Kazama was often blunt, if not outright rude, but he was speaking honestly, and I could tell that he was genuinely worried for my well-being. That I knew for sure. Thank you for looking out for me. They're so cute. Oh my god. Recklessness? Although Kazama was, once again, snidely chiding me for being so meek. For some reason I found his delivery endearing, and his words snaked their way into my heart. Amiguri said the same thing Amiguri said the same thing that you did, Kazama. He said that you have no way of knowing whether or not the Shinsengumi will be at Aizu Castle by the time we arrive, so I should wait. So for now, I guess I will wait until we know for sure. Kazama scanned me, his eyes thinning with satisfaction. Shit. Can you not say that kind of stuff? I'm a weak woman. Bro. Way to miss the point. Girl, chill. Besides, I'm not your wife, Kazama. Not yet. After scoffing at Kazama's suggestion, I turned to get one last glimpse at the immaculate scenery around us. all I wanted was to reunite with the men of the Shinsengumi, but even more so, I couldn't bear the thought of letting the deaths of my paternal parents, father and Karu, be in vain of wasting my life so wantonly. I had to make absolutely sure to pick and choose my battles, as Kazama put it, wisely. As Kazama and I left the village, I put the image of the charred remains behind me, instead carried by the resolve of honoring my people in their sacrifice. We got a little more time. Much to our dismay, some unsettling news awaited for us as we reached the outskirts of Aizu Castle. The Aizu domain, after months of resistance, had finally tendered to the terms of the surrender to the Imperial Army. I couldn't believe that Aizu were defeated. When the Shinsengumi was still stationed in Kyoto, the Aizu served as one of the biggest allies and supplied them with armaments and support. So, where is the Shinsengumi then? I felt my body tremble as I asked him, trying to steel myself from letting trepidation take over. Had they, too, declared the surrender to the Imperial Army with the Aizu? I feared the worst, thinking of all the manners and brutal torture of imprisonment that were awaiting them. Would their fate be the same as Kondo's? Both Kazama and Amagiri were affiliated with the Satsuma domain. I imagine it wasn't particularly difficult for either of them to ascertain key information in regards to the war front. Kazama and I waited idly on the outskirts of the castle before Amagiri returned. I held my breath in anticipation. Although I had been begging for a sign, anything really, of where they had been, the circumstances of the defeat made me anxious to hear the truth. Amagiri took a deep breath and spoke with a somber tone. What is this route? Everyone dies but your man? Oh my god. My stomach sank like a stone in the ocean. Suddenly my breaths were shallow and staggered. Okada and Saito were gone? Two of the most talented, heroic warriors in the Shinsengumi were now nothing but a faint memory, fading against the tide of an unstoppable army. I was speechless. I could only bite into my lips and look at the ground. Was Nakakura safe? Were any of them safe? Wow, they are just killing everybody. Oh my god. Heisuke and Sanan too? The deaths of Heisuke and Sanan were difficult to take in, and I was swirling in a pit of despair. They willingly gave up their humanity to become Furies, and not even that could save them. What about the others? My eyes shot wide open. Kazama was always the first one in line to scorn the Shinsegumi's actions, but this was different. His voice almost led me to believe that he was impressed by Hijikata, which was a little strange. So everyone's still putting up a fight, huh? Life for the Shinsengumi following the Battle of Toba Fushimi was nothing but one continuous adjustment of defeat. Even during the Battle of Kofu, when everything looked to be in their favor, the shogunate left them out to dry. Yet, they pushed forward with their heads held high. I don't know either. There was one thing I did know. I celebrated internally, knowing that their spirits were unbroken despite the adverse circumstances. Yeah. The Shinsugumi's steadfast dedication on the battlefield was a monument to the courage and principles of their fallen comrades. Hazel. As soon as he said it, my heart was set. Yes. Hijikata may be unaware of the news that some of the captains have passed away. With Okita having died in Edo and Harada dying back in Ueno, it was unclear to me if their word of their passing had reached Hijikata in time. It was my duty to honor their memory by telling Hijikata myself. My eyes intently shifted to Kazama. Kazama, I want to travel to Ezo and meet up with whoever is left in the Shinsengumi. Before I continued, I took a brief moment to carefully calculate what I wanted to say. I inhaled, looking straight into Kazama's eyes, and I said, "Oh, what? What is this answer? Oh, come with me, please." Kazama, would it be too much to ask if you'd join me? Yes. I have a gut feeling that Ezo is the end of the road for them. No battlefields were left untouched by the vicious torments of war, and Ezo stood as a decisive scene in our history's most tumultuous chapter. So, I guess it's even more of a reason why I want to travel together with Kazama. I want you with me when I witness the end of the Shinsengumi. It was surreal. It's not strangely inappropriate of me to ask such a thing of Kazama, but because Kazama had been involved with so many duels of the Shinsengumi over the years, I wanted him to bear witness to what could possibly be the Shinsegumi's final intimate moments. Kazama listened intently, and when I finished speaking, his lips curled into a smug grin. Yes! Let's go! The end for them, you say. Oh, fuck me up. Yes! Let's go! Thank you so much. I was flushed with the relief at Kazama's acceptance of my proposal. I had felt like ages since anyone could coax a sincere smile out of me. Goodbye for now, Amagiri. We bid farewell to Amagiri and turned around in the direction of Sendai when... But with that, I'm gonna put a little cliffhanger here because I have to wrap it up. Sorry, I wanted this to go until we got to the end of the chapter, but so I had some stuff come up tonight. Oh god, everything's gonna break. Here we go. But I have some stuff come up, and so I'm not going to be able to finish the chapter. But like I said, we'll be finishing it tomorrow. What time are we going to do it? I didn't set the schedule yet. Oh, shit. Well, we'll do it tomorrow. I'll post it up later tonight what time we're doing it. How's that sound? Alright? Cool. Anyway, hope you have a good day. Morning, evening, night, whatever it is for you. It was me, Hoshino Nya. Bye bye.